Ivan was always a brilliant young man with an insatiable curiosity about the world. He grew up in a small town where the expectations for the future were limited. Get married, have children, and continue with the family business. However, Ivan had bigger dreams. At 18, he moved to the big city in search of meaning and purpose. In the eyes of others, Ivan was a model of success. He got a job at a prestigious company, had influential friends, and seemed to be on the path to a full life. But deep inside, something was wrong. He felt an increasing emptiness, as if each achievement was just another brick in a wall that separated him from something he didn't even know what it was. He began to ask himself, why do I do what I do? Who am I living for? Is there something beyond this? This internal crisis led him to dive into books on philosophy. It was then that he found Friedrich Nietzsche. One of the philosopher's phrases hit him like a punch: God is dead, and we have killed him. To Ivan, this was not just a statement about religion, but a declaration about the absence of a universal meaning in life. He began to question whether everything in life was, indeed, meaningless. Success, love, pleasures. Everything seemed like an artificial construction created to fill the void left by the lack of a greater purpose. Little by little, he began to distance himself from friends and family. He rejected invitations to parties and gatherings and spent whole days in his personal library reflecting on nihilism. One day, while walking through a park, he came across a simple yet profoundly impactful scene. A little girl played alone with a fallen leaf, laughing with fascination as the wind moved it. Ivan, on the other hand, felt that he had lost the ability to find beauty in the trivial. This experience led him to an existential dilemma. If life really has no meaning, how can we bear the weight of that emptiness? Is there any way to find joy even in a world devoid of purpose? Ivan's story is the starting point for exploring nihilism from different perspectives: neuroscience and psychology, philosophy, and its application in daily life. His case reflects how the human mind reacts when the meaning of life seems to fade. The human brain is constantly active, even in a resting state. This activity is regulated by a set of brain areas known as the default mode network, DMN. This network is activated when we daydream, reflect on our life, or think about the future. However, in states of nihilism or existential emptiness, the DMN can become hyperactive in a disorganized manner. Neuroimaging studies have shown that this hyperactivity is linked to recurring negative thoughts, where the mind revisits ideas of futility or lack of purpose over and over again. This mental noise can lead to psychological collapse, making it difficult to build new perspectives or find satisfaction in the present. From a psychological perspective, nihilism often arises from a disconnection from what we perceive as meaningful. In his work, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl emphasized that the perception of control over our choices and actions is essential for mental health. When this perception is lost, as in Ivan's case, who feels that everything is empty and insignificant, the brain enters a state of existential paralysis. The theory of self-determination, proposed by Desai and Ryan, also helps to understand this dynamic. According to this theory, human beings need three fundamental psychological pillars to thrive: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The absence of these pillars not only affects motivation, but also creates a mental environment conducive to feelings of emptiness. Another crucial factor related to nihilism is the impact of social isolation. Although Ivan had superficial interactions, he didn't feel a genuine connection with others. Recent studies on loneliness have shown that the human brain is essentially a social machine designed to seek belonging. Social disconnection activates the same brain areas associated with physical pain, such as the anterior cingulate cortex, which can aggravate the feeling that life has no value. Nihilism is also deeply linked to philosophy. From Kierkegaard to Nietzsche and Camus, many thinkers have explored the crisis of meaning in a world without absolute certainties. Nietzsche described passive nihilism as resignation to the void and the acceptance of meaninglessness as something inevitable. On the other hand, he proposed active nihilism, in which the individual rejects obsolete values and creates new ones. However, Ivan had not yet reached that point. He was trapped in the abyss, unable to face the void that consumed his mind, as if an infinite darkness had taken over his being, distorting every thought and emotion. The void was not only the absence of meaning, but a tangible force that enveloped him, overshadowing any glimmer of hope. Every time he tried to understand his own pain, the void seemed to multiply, expanding like an ink stain that spread endlessly. Ivan felt like a spectator in his own life, unable to fully participate, trapped in an endless fog of doubt and despair. The hours slid by without purpose, and the daily routine, instead of providing relief, had become a burden. His interactions were superficial, empty, and every conversation left him with a deeper sense of disconnection. Life had lost its flavor, its color. Everything seemed bleak, gray, as if he were floating through a world that no longer belonged to him. For his part, Kierkegaard described existential anguish as the inability to fully be oneself, that overwhelming feeling that something is fundamentally broken inside, something that prevents the complete realization of personal identity. According to him, anguish was not just a passing feeling, but a deep state of existential crisis, arising from the recognition that human freedom not only brings infinite possibilities, but also unbearable anguish. For him, anguish was the result of confronting the absolute responsibility of our own existence. The only way out of this abyss of despair for Kierkegaard was to make a leap of faith. But this leap didn't necessarily have to be a religious act. What he suggested was an unshakable commitment to something greater than mere human existence, a commitment to the idea that life, despite its chaos, could be given meaning through a conscious act of will. For Kierkegaard, this leap meant stepping into the unknown, embracing the freedom to choose without the certainties that reason and logic offer. But Ivan couldn't make that leap. He found himself trapped between the desire to find a deeper meaning for his life and the fear of facing the overwhelming freedom implied by accepting full responsibility for his being. He couldn't bear the idea of acting without clear guidance, of having to create his own purpose in such an uncertain and fragmented world. Albert Camus, in his work The Myth of Sisyphus, approached nihilism from a radically different perspective. For Camus, life was absurd, not because it lacked meaning in itself, but because human existence is marked by an innate desire to find meaning, while the universe offers none. The search for meaning, in his view, is inherently futile because the answers we seek never come. Camus used the figure of Sisyphus, the mythological hero condemned to push a boulder uphill only to watch it roll down again, as a metaphor for this constant and unrewarding struggle. Life, according to Camus, is an endless fight against the absurd, a constant effort to find meaning where there is none. Despite this grim picture, Camus did not propose suicide or despair as a response. On the contrary, he offered an unexpected solution: the acceptance of the absurd. Accepting that life lacks meaning does not mean resigning to despair, but rather rebelling against this meaninglessness, living fully, and embracing the freedom that arises from recognizing that there is no predetermined purpose. For Camus, rebellion against nothingness is what gives meaning to existence. However, Ivan had not reached that point of acceptance. His mind remained trapped in denial, the fear of nothingness keeping him immobilized, unable to accept the inevitability of the absurd, and even less able to find any joy in the daily struggle. Everything seemed futile, and every attempt to find solace only sank him deeper into despair. In modern life, nihilism manifests daily, especially in a society that seeks immediate answers and superficial solutions to deep problems. We live in a world obsessed with filling the existential void through consumerism, information overload, digital distractions, and instant gratification. Everything seems designed to provide us with momentary relief, a fleeting comfort, but satisfaction rarely lasts. Ivan, like many of us, found himself trapped in this cycle of insatiable consumption, seeking quick answers and easy solutions on social media, in the information flowing endlessly through the screen of his phone. He spent hours browsing aimlessly, jumping from one topic to another, consuming superficial content that promised quick answers to his deeper concerns. But the more he immersed himself in this world, the emptier his life felt. Each notification, each like, seemed to temporarily fill the void, but soon the dissatisfaction returned with greater force. Ivan began to understand that these distractions only hid the emptiness, but didn't fill it. The more he tried to escape from himself, the more the desolation that pursued him grew. However, even amidst this existential crisis, there is a possibility of resistance, although it is often invisible and hard to recognize. Amidst the chaos, small forms of authenticity, of genuine human connection, may be what help us find some meaning. An unexpected gesture of kindness, an honest and unpretentious conversation, or even a moment of sincere reflection can be small anchors of hope that keep us afloat. Ivan, although he didn't know it yet, was about to experience one of those moments. One day, in a cafe, he met a woman who shared many of his existential struggles. The conversation they had was direct and unfiltered, a genuine exchange of thoughts and emotions that he couldn't find anywhere in his daily life. For the first time in months, Ivan felt that he was truly connecting with another person, that he could be authentic without fear of judgment, without hiding his deepest fears. Although that talk didn't solve his internal crisis, it gave him a glimpse that meaning could be constructed even amidst chaos and confusion. Authenticity, human connection, and the willingness to confront uncertainty became key elements in his struggle. That brief encounter in the cafe was not a magical solution, nor the cure for his existential anguish, but it gave him a new perspective. Meaning is not something that is found definitively, but something that is constantly built through experience, commitment, and confrontation with the unknown. Ivan understood that although nihilism may threaten to empty life of all meaning, there is always the possibility of confronting it, the struggle itself, the acceptance of uncertainty, and the ability to create something authentic from chaos are the elements that allow life to regain its own meaning, even though it may never be completely clear or fixed. Thus, Ivan's story becomes a reflection of the universal struggle to find authenticity and purpose in a world that seems indifferent to our deepest concerns. Nihilism, though powerful, is not invincible. There is always the possibility of creating meaning even in the most desperate circumstances.